Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to each and every one of you to yet another webinar series by Indian Community Relief Fund, this time in association with BCICAI, CA Chapter, Bahrain. On the outset, I would like to thank CA Chapter Bahrain for being a consistent and a constant supporter to ICRF for the past so many years in so many ways. You have been contributing, your members have been contributing, and it has been a great help for ICRF being CA, a great supporter for ICRF. As you know, we are going through this COVID situation, and past 1 year, many of us are being locked down and inside the house, and children are learning online. So pretty much the de facto online factor has come into the forefront. And in effect, the frauds have also increased. So we very well know that many of us, many of the people whom we feel that who are not prone to are also prone to online frauds and stuff like that. So we felt it was very much important that we have an awareness program so that the common man like us can understand where we need to protect ourselves from. And thank you so much for CA for supporting ICRF in executing this project as well. Now we have very eminent people here to talk on this topic. So on a single line, I would welcome Mr. Ajay from CA Chapter, and Sharmila, the acting chairperson of CA Chapter, and Mrs. Suresh Menon and Mr. Logan and Mrs. Mauli, who are the panel members, and Nisha, who is our moderator today. A befitting introduction of all of them will be given by people who are involved in today. Before we move into the program, as you all know, Indian Community Relief Fund works under the Embassy of India past 20 years. And after the starting of this COVID, we have been very much into action in terms of supporting the community. We have conducted over 25, 30 webinars in terms of COVID awareness programs and health related programs and all that. In addition to that, we have been supporting food kits for over 10,000 people, 10,000 families to be precise, which is in tune of around 60 tons of food material we have provided. And we have supported people to go back to India who are stranded here. Over 200 tickets are being supported for. And we have been creating awareness to over 50,000 laborers with giving face masks, antibacterial soaps, multilingual flyers. The name is so many, the activities are so many, over 200 people are working on it. And we are very thankful to His Excellency, the Ambassador of India, Mr. Piyush Srivastava, who has been a guide and supporter for ICRF activities in Bahrain. As you all know, now it's a very, very difficult time. Last few weeks in Bahrain, the number of COVID cases have been increasing and not coming down. People are a bit concerned. And as ICRF, we are requesting every community member to follow the instructions given by the government of Bahrain: social distancing, wearing face mask, washing your hands, and in all top of all this, make sure that you are taking vaccine provided by the government. Bahrain is probably the only country which is giving all 4 vaccines, and the 5th one is on the way and free of cost, immaterial of whether it is a nationality or an expatriate or a labor or anyone. So we should be really thankful to the government. We are having Pfizer, we are having Sinopharm, we are having AstraZeneca, we are having Sputnik, and Johnson & Johnson is on the way. Which other country can think of something like this? And over 300,000 people are already been vaccinated. Another 300,000 is getting vaccinated in March. So it's going in the right direction. So we should all be hopeful, and within few months we'll come out of all these perils and problems. But till then, we should always make sure we are protecting ourselves and our community members. Lately, the stress levels are so high. We are seeing so much of heart attack related incidents in the last few weeks. We have done a program already, and on 20th of March, we are conducting another webinar series on health related, especially on stress related. So these are in nutshell that I would like to talk about that ICRF has been doing so far. And thank you once again for all the support. And here is my responsibility and my honor to welcome the acting chairperson of CA Chapter, who is Sharmila State. She's been in Bahrain for the last 16 years and a chartered accountant by profession, and also a CISA, a certified information security analyst, also an auditor and a finance consultant, and a finance head for multiple organizations. She's worked in Bahrain. So with this small introduction, let me call upon Sharmila to take the event forward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aruldas, the chairperson of the ICRF, for that very generous introduction. And once again, very warm welcome to you as well. Also, very good evening and a warm welcome on behalf of the Bahrain Chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India to Mr. Suresh Menon, the Managing Partner, Leonis Consultancy, Mr. Logan, Simpson, the Head of Cyber Security Services, KPMG Bahrain, Ms. Mauli Shah, the co-founder and the director of Make IT Secure Technology. Also, a very warm welcome to the members of the BCICAI, as also to the viewers of the ICRF webinar and the talk series. So this is Sharmila here, as Mr. Arula said, acting chairperson of the BCICAI for this month. March basically being the Women's Month, the chairperson, CA Ajay Kumar, who strongly believes in this woman empowerment, has decided to step aside and has made me the acting chairperson for this month. And I really consider myself very fortunate to have this opportunity to lead the chapter and serve my profession as well as my members for this month. So thank you so much. So as you all know, the Bahrain chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants was conceived and formulated for more than 2 decades ago as one of the overseas chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Over the years, BCICI has grown from strength to strength. And presently, BCICI has a membership of around 450 members, which is one of the largest organized professional body of Indians in Bahrain. The members of BCICI have been employed across all the sectors in Bahrain, including trading, manufacturing, and the service industry. BCICI, like ICRF, also holds regular seminars and events to enhance the technical knowledge, skills, as well as professional and personal development of our members. In our commitment to the greater cause of the nation, BCICI has always been associated with ICRF. It has not only been regularly contributing to the ICRF fund, but has also collaborated with them on the several occasions for conducting the programs as well as the session for the general awareness of the public and for the expats community. Today is one such event. As Mr. Arul Das has very rightly said, the digital revolution has forced everybody to go digital. The digital transformation has basically reshaped all the services and introduced new channels. But this developments has come with their fair share of risk and costs, thereby making the cyber security a need of the hour today. Though Bahrain government has very well defined cyber security laws, regulations, and have been creating awareness, but in recent times, especially during this COVID time, there has been a significant increase in the number of crimes, and mainly the financial crimes, including using this digital technology. So this is our attempt in collaboration with ICRF to create this awareness about the crime and create a cyber secure mindset among the people, and also explain how they can basically protect themselves, or in case it happens, what remedies are available. So I'm really very thankful to all our panelists who have agreed to associate with BCICI as well as ICRF in this cause. So without any further ado, I will now hand over the control to CA Nisha, who is our moderator for today. So CA Nisha is a chartered accountant with over 2 decades of experience. She's presently working as a head of compliance. She was the first woman to hold the position of the joint secretary in BCICI. CA Nisha is a founder member of Women's Only Toastmasters Club, C2A, and is currently the Vice President Public Relations of C2A Toastmasters Club. With that very brief introduction, I will hand over the control to our very vibrant moderator, CA Nisha. Over to you, Nisha.
Thank you, Sharmila, for such a lovely introduction. I would first like to extend my gratitude to Sharmila and Ajay from the Bahrain CA chapter to give me this opportunity, and most importantly to ICRF, who have been conducting this series of informative webinars for the benefit of the community. And I'm so proud to be part of it today. These are the small ways by which we can, give back to our society. Well, as regards today's session, stay home, stay safe. This has been the slogan which has been reiterated by all for the past 1 year to safeguard ourselves from the current pandemic situation. Similarly, stay alert and stay safe has been the slogan which has been reiterated probably for more than a decade now to safeguard ourselves from various online frauds. Yet, countless have been tricked into revealing crucial personal information in different forms by different attackers. While it is important to maintain our physical health, it is equally critical that we protect ourselves against online frauds. To educate us more on this interesting subject, today we have with us an expert panel who would help us understand the threats we face in the digital world and the proactive measures we should take to counter them. Mr. Suresh Menon, who is a resource person for police cyber cells in Kerala. Currently, he is also the chief representative in India for US-based OEM on adaptive cyber defense zero trust-based solution. Welcome, Suresh, all the way from India, and good to have you on the panel.
Thank you.
Mr. Logan Simpson, who hails from the US and leads the cybersecurity consulting practice here in KPMG Fakro. He's passionate about leadership development in future generations of ethical hackers and security professionals. Welcome, Logan, and we are glad to have a local representation from Bahrain on the panel today. Ms. Mauli Shah. She is an information security practitioner and trainer, vulnerability assessor, and penetration test expert. Welcome, Mauli, who is also joining us from India, and it's always so good to see a woman being part of a panel.
Thank you.
The most interesting fact about a panelist I would like to tell our audience is that all of them are certified ethical hackers. I was quite amazed by these certifications that they hold. So let me begin the session today with the lady on the panel. Mauli, the most basic question which lingers in all our minds is that why do we need to worry about information security? Also tell us what kind of information should we protect? Over to you, Mauli.
Yeah, see, basically, information security is not only stopping or preventing unauthorized access to our information. It is more to do with, access, use, disruption, as well as, modification and destruction of this information. Now, when we speak on individual levels, why should we worry about information security? Basically, if today I am Mauli Shah, what is the guarantee and what is the 100% surety that I am who I am claiming to be? So information security comes into play when on individual level is to avoid impersonation or identity theft, which is on the run right now. So worry, yes, because tomorrow you don't know who is going to pose as you with your shot. Just take up your identity and you will be out of your world altogether. So the threat over here that we're speaking about is, the merger of physical and virtual world. So that's why you need to worry and safeguard this information. When we speak about safeguarding the information, typically we need to be more cautious of our personal information. It could be as lay as, what is your favorite color. On individual terms, this bits and pieces of information may not make much sense to us. What will someone do if they know my favorite color? But a collaborative of such information could give the fraudster a know-how about the person, in turn making it simple for that person to impersonate you. So that's why you need to be more cautious of what you are posting online, what you're tagging, whom you're tagging. All that small tiny bits need to be taken care of. So yes, that's basically why you need to be concerned about information security.
Okay, so we believe this Mauli Shah is the Mauli Shah which we are talking to.
True. You have all the tools to verify that.
Right. So as we adapt to this new normal, seemingly we are unable to stop the onslaught of fraud attempts. Suresh, Could you explain our listeners in brief as to how exactly does any fraud takes place? Like when I click any link or give the OTP. So what exactly is the modus operandi we're talking about, despite having two-factor authentication in so many transactions?
Yeah. First of all, even before I start, thanks to ICRF, IC Bahrain Chapter. Thanks to Nisha and Sharmila for having us over. Thankful, we at Leonis are thankful to all of you all. To answer your question, what's happening in today's world is we cannot have 100% security for whatever you do. And when you talk about link, that is the most favorite, the one of the ways of attacking. And when I press a link, what could happen behind the link is that there could be chances that one is the link is sent only for spamming. Spamming means collecting all the emails for a later attack, possible, number one. Second is, it could be a malware attached to the link. So there could be a malware or it can take you to a malicious website. From the malicious website, it can just take in a bucket your user ID and password. And if you don't have a two-factor authentication with a user ID and password, that is enough for the hacker to hit you back. Right? So I'm saying it can take you to a malicious website, or it can do this, or it can do that. So what we are saying here is ultimately it can put a keylogger or something of that sort of a malware into your system, and the hacker can sit in your system and keep on watching you. And he or she, they might decide when to attack you. So that possibility, you're vulnerable to all these things. So what do you do to mitigate this? You can take the mouse over the link and see where the link is taking you to. Or you can take the URL, not click it, cut and paste the URL and put it on virusshooter.com, or cut and paste it and take it to Microsoft Word and see whether the end of the link has got any executable or where is it taking to. You can go to that particular site, and then there are multiple ways of checking whether that site certificate domain is valid, whether it's extended domain, little technical, but I don't want to get into the technicalities. There are multiple ways of checking it, but in a short time, I can tell you that, we have to use common sense. In cybersecurity, greed and fear, bhai and lalach, are the two things that you will play on. And especially in these times of pandemic, everybody's out to make money because we all lost money. And that before a link, some story would be given. That is where we need to use the common sense. And in case of OTP is a brilliant stuff. In banking and financial circles we have in India. If you talk about OTP back in the US, they might not have, but OTP is the last defense before a transaction happens. But most of the time, it is not the technology which creates the problem, it is the human stupidity. You can have a technological patch, but the human stupidity, there is no patch. And if you give the OTP, it is negligence on your part. And that is where we need to be absolutely careful. Do not, even in your sleep, give OTP to somebody. So that is why OTP is important. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's hope sense prevails in humanity. But as the internet continues to expand into every aspect of our society, we still remain, as you rightly said, vulnerable to cyber attacks across the internet value chain. Logan, what do you think are the biggest cybersecurity threats currently that we are exposed to?
Sure, thanks, Nisha. I mean, I guess first of all, the types of threats and the issues that we face it's nothing new, actually. It's all the same things, which has always been an issue. Some kind of theft, some kind of damage or attack, blackmail. So these are all, bribing. These are all different kinds of, for a long time, these have been issues. What's happened is the criminals have evolved with the time. So now technology, the challenge is it adds a level of complexity. So before, if you wanted to defraud someone, probably you had to speak to them in person. This could be done, but a little more difficult. Now with technology complicating things, it's easier. One thing, it's easier to access everyone. So from a threat standpoint, the primary threat is generally organized crime. So if you think of like the old gangster movies where you had organized crime and the mobsters, now those guys are doing cybercrime because it's actually more profitable. They make much more money and it's safer for them as well. So as we speak, it's estimated that there could be several 100,000 cyber criminals right now scouring the internet, looking for anything they can do to hack and to make money. In fact, they're extremely organized. Many of them actually go into offices and maybe even sit in cubicles and have desk jobs where they have a manager that checks on their performance. How many people did you fraud this month? So where they have quotas. So they are extremely organized, and they are looking for any way to contact us as individuals. It could be through text message, as Suresh said, or through email, and even social media. People get messages through that. And could even be through the phone, which has also happened quite a bit, even here in Bahrain. And many times, as Mauli mentioned, they can do all kinds of research online to find through social media and through Google. So they seem like they know what they're talking about. They seem like they know you, they know specific details. And all these things put together can really form a strong threat. And the reason that so many people do it is because it often is successful, unfortunately. And that's something that we want to try to address.
Okay, that's quite indeed quite alarming to know the kind of threats that we are facing. And as you rightly said, Logan, probably, while we are having this session itself, somewhere in the world, someone might have even fallen prey to a fraud attempt. So Mauli, how do we know if someone is, scamming us, and how can we avoid becoming a victim to a phishing scam, though it's not that easy?
Surely, see, there are certain flags, red flags that we need to be alert and we need to keep an eye on. Like for example, it could be a call that is coming and you are asked to give in your OTP or your 16-digit card number. No bank or no financial institute will ever ask you for something like that. Or, the call that has come from a personal mobile number and not the bank institution number. Those small points that we need to keep in mind for us to know that, okay, this call is not a regular call or is not a call the itself, the financial institution itself. When it comes to the applications, web applications, we need to be sure that the address that is there of the application, the banking application. It is also a secured link, that is the HTTPS is there. If that is not there, you need to, the URL, the name, the address would be very much similar to that of the bank. The page also will be the same. I'm not using the term similar also. It is the same as your bank's login. So if you put in your password and it does not work in, the first thing that you need to do is that check whether the address is the same or not. If not, please inform the bank that, you've entered your password at a, fake address and you need to stop the net banking facility. Also, there are the banking applications provide you with the last login time and date, whereby you can see that, okay, is it the matching the time and the date that you have logged in last to that application. Most of the applications also provide your metadata, that is the IP address of your last login. You look forward for that, but that's a little bit more of the technicality. But on and on basic, what you can do to avoid being scammed or avoid being victim of the scam is ensure and be alert, ensure that the website is correct, b, the phone number, if it's coming from a phone, it's the appropriate or the phone number that the bank is registered to, that it's coming from there. B, please do not give out any of your vital information related to your banking application, the banking needs. No OTPs, no 6-digit card digits, or no, not your PIN. No banking institution will ask you for these details. So yeah, basically just be alert and look out for these small red flags that are indications that it's a scam and it's not coming in from the bank.
Okay, I hope our viewers have taken down the tips that Mauli has given. So now let's come to social media. It indeed has become the most important aspect on everyone's lives today. And the scammers seem to love these accounts all the more. So Suresh, how can I protect my Facebook, WhatsApp, basically my social media accounts from being hacked?
Right. So what happens is when I use all this yantra and mantra, I should be knowing how to configure it. right? I can't buy a new car and start, directly driving it from Bahrain to wherever, somewhere. I need to know the parts, how it operates. Similarly, when I start using Facebook or WhatsApp, I should take some time to configure. It could be, the first thing is we are seeing a lot of crime in WhatsApp, where people are demanding your registration verification code. And if you disclose that, you had it, your WhatsApp is hacked. So do not disclose your registration. Somebody else might register your same number in their phone, and through social engineering, they will ask you to get that verification code, and you will fall for it. The moment you give it, they have a complete control. Number one, at any point of time, forget, I don't want to talk about OTP. They will not even mention it as a term OTP. They will say up a 4-digit code, 4-digit code or a 10-digit code has come, kindly disclose. So,
Suresh, you have got muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are not even, they will just tell you it's some digits coming in. Secondly, so what we are saying is do not disclose any sort of information like this verification codes and whole lot of things. Second is, have different passwords for different applications. We are very good at pass@123 or password is equal to password. And that will be across Facebook, my bank, my everything. So as a hacker, it is very simple. If I'm able to hack one of your accounts, I had all the accounts, right? So, and we are not even talking about password. Let it be a passphrase. So what is a passphrase? Take a word, 2 words, 5 words in your regional language, and then put a hyphen, put a, what is called special characters, and make it tough for any sort of attack, brute force, dictionary attack, and a whole lot of things like that. So we need to change this password at least 3 months, once in 3 months, like the way we change our toothbrush every 3 months. Change the password. Do not share your toothbrush. Do you share your toothbrush? Do not share your password, right? So simple tips, common sense, right? So these are the things that you should do. Update your applications regularly, your WhatsApp, your Facebook, it all comes with vulnerability. So they keep on updating it. Update your computers. The biggest problem is we talk big things, but we buy, a laptop and we don't use a licensed software. Use licensed software, my friends. Use licensed software. Let's talk about other things, rocket science later on. Use licensed software. All the vulnerabilities will come automatically. It can get patched, right? In case of, keep the devices protected, keep the locks on. In case of a bank, if there's a compromise on your bank or, Google Pay or Paytm, ensure that number one, you call the bank and block the cards, number one, and try to freeze the account if you see. Put your phone in the airplane mode. Number two, ensure that you take all your screenshots. And here in India, we have something that you don't have to walk into a police station. You can go to cybercrime.gov.in, register your complaint. They will get a token number for you. And once that token number is issued, it is sent to your nearest police station, right? So what we are saying here is, take all these things, ensure that you patch your systems, you update your systems. It make life difficult for the fraudster and the hacker. So this is what I would say. Your thing is be crime smart, right?
Right.
In this world, everything has become smart. Smart TV, safe cities, smart home, everything. Smart TV. Other than me, everything is smart. So we need to be crime smart. Thank you.
And as you said about the Indian side of the cyber crime reference, in Bahrain, I would like to say this Bahrain cyber crime contact number is 992. This is for the benefit of our viewers and the audiences. It's 992 that we can dial.
So, sorry for that. The most important, one of the points which I just went through is that when you get all this yantra, the devices in your hand, just remember, go to security settings and privacy settings. Plain English, any end user can understand it, tighten it. That's all. And nothing, you will be safe.
True. So every time I'm going to change my toothbrush, I'm going to change my password as well. I'll make it a point on that. And in fact, off late in Bahrain also, many of us have witnessed various attempts on online frauds through SMS, as you said, like on calls, even WhatsApp, and even on Viber. Logan, could you take us through the actual cases in Bahrain with regards to, as I recollect, it was Benefit Pay, Bahrain Duty Free, Western Union?
Sure. Yeah, so I can share one example comes to mind that kind of shows the end-to-end process that these things typically go through. So first of all, there was one gentleman who his bank account, someone got access to his username and password. Now, how they got it, still we don't know. Likely though, people tend to reuse our passwords across multiple sites and accounts because it's very difficult to hack a bank, but other smaller sites and companies that we use the same password on, they can very easily be compromised. The first thing the hackers will do is they will try to reuse the same password on your banking site as well. So for anything like a bank account, make sure that's a unique password. But anyways, so they do get access to his account. When they, as Suresh mentioned, as a last step, okay, they got access to this, but as they're making the bank transfer, before they're able to do this, they had the gentleman's phone number. They called him. They were very polite. They said, "We're from your bank. For security purposes, we would just want to verify some information." They did not ask him for any personal details. They had already identified personal details about him. They said, "Can you confirm you live at this address, etc.? You work here?" He said, "Yeah, that's right, that's right." They said, "Okay, now you're going to receive a security code. Can you please just confirm what code that you received?" So again, then they initiate the bank transfer. It sends him the OTP. He says, "Okay, I got the code. It says this." They type that in. They transferred, I think it was around 2,000 dinar out of his account. And then the person said, "Have a nice day," and they left. As soon as they did the transfer, of course, he got a notice of the transaction as an SMS as well. He was very concerned. So he immediately went to the local branch of the bank. Now, the branch manager of this specific bank didn't know exactly what to do. And he said, "Look, call the corporate customer service and ask them for help." So then the person goes and does that. Of course, you go through all the press this, press that. Eventually he gets to speak with someone to file his complaint. They said, "Okay, we'll look into it." A day or two goes past, nothing happens. So eventually he goes to the police. The police do open a case and they investigate. And as by this point, the money is long gone. It's almost impossible to trace. And after further investigation, it was ultimately determined that because he gave out the OTP, that the bank said, "We will not refund your money. The money's gone and you're liable. It's your responsibility." So that's an unfortunate cautionary tale, but just one example of these things that are actually actively happening, and why it's so important to use the precautions which Suresh and Mauli are mentioning.
Okay, that's really quite concerning, actually. But with these live cases, today's cyber attackers look more determined and persistent than ever that they were before, and the scammers are like changing their tactics and adapting them to the new current environment. Mauli, what could be the basic security practices that we should follow to make it difficult for these fraudsters?
Basic security practices that we can follow is, like first and foremost, be a little more and alert. Like I said, mentioned earlier, also just look out for these ambiguity, the flags that we are speaking about. Secondly, ensure that your information is protected. Protected, I mean that do not share too much of information on social media, because that is where first and foremost these fraudsters would go for the information. And typically, being humans, we would want to post everything, from minutest detail that, okay, I'm at this point of time over here, then I'll be going over there, whatever the plan of the day is. We tend to put that up also. So putting too much of information on social media, avoid using credentials that are directly related to you and that information is available on social media. For example, don't use any password which is your birth date, because that again is available on your social media easily. Avoid using or create certain passphrases which are easily remembered by you. Simple as TGIF, thank God it's Friday, something of that. So come up with innovative ways of creating your credentials. Secondly, like Suresh also said, regularly change these credentials. Change your pins, change your passwords. By this, what are we doing? We are restricting the window of attack for the fraudster. Another important information that Suresh just shared was that you update your antivirus. Don't just limit it to your computers or your laptops. Extend it to your handheld devices also, because a lot of time we tend to do financial transactions also from this small device, the mobile phone. So update that also. Your application updates, your security updates, even on your, I would say, put it onto your every digital device that is there with you. And finally, do not blindly trust anything, whether it's a link, it's a call, it's a message. Verify it and then proceed with caution.
Okay. Though one tries to follow all these basic securities, with the amount of personal data that we have stored, that anybody stores on their smartphones, the value of the smartphone itself is much more than the data that you have stored in that. So we have sensitive information as passwords, biometric details as well, which falls in the scammer's lap very easily. Logan, how safe it would be, to save my card details in any payment apps or any online shopping apps, or even in my smartphone itself?
Yeah, great question. So I always say the best way to secure a computer is to lock it in a physical safe and drop it to the bottom of the ocean. So then nobody can hack it, but then you can't use it either. So there's always a balance of functionality and usability versus security, which you have to do an assessment of risk. So now, is it possible that if you save your card details that it could be compromised? Yes. However, if they've already compromised that much, they're going to get the same details during the purchase itself. So incrementally, I don't believe there's that much more risk. The credit card issuers, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, etc., they do periodic audits and make sure that these details are stored, encrypted, etc. Is it possible they could still be compromised? Yes. For me, the convenience of it is the trade-off and the risk. I feel like it's fine. But if you go to a phishing site and you use it to enter your credit card details, they're going to get your card anyways that way. If they compromise the company, they're going to get it anyway. So whether or not you choose to store it, I don't believe. Now, this is in regards to storing it in the system itself. If you write down the number, that's another story. Or if you keep the number stored in a text file on your computer, would definitely not recommend that. But if it's stored in an encrypted way through the company, generally, I don't feel that the risk is that high. But each person, can make their own call.
Okay. So that's a little relief to, we can use our credentials on while doing our online shopping and everything. But these cyber attacks evolve so much faster. And as you said, we can't lock our phones and dump it in the ocean. And the technological tool, before it develops, the cyber attacks are, in full swing. And more so that, for our younger population, I would say they are the most vulnerable segment with the kind of exposure that they have nowadays. Suresh, what word of advice would you give to the parents? And I believe quite a few youngsters have also joined us in today's session.
Yeah, see, in today's world, it doesn't matter whether youngsters or oldsters, we are all vulnerable, right? Like I keep on saying, even a Sachin Tendulkar or god of cricket, he gets out to a single ball. He is also vulnerable, right? We are all in the same situation. Whatever we do, one day chances are security cannot be 100%. We all need to be aware and vigilant. The same way we are within normal life, we are always aware and vigilant. The same thing we need to continue into the digital world. Nothing, no rocket science. Having said that, what we are seeing here is, we are seeing the youth getting into radicalization. That means they're brainwashed into some unwanted activities, number one. Secondly, what we are seeing here is, because their brains are getting cluttered with information, because information is available on the net, how to make a bomb from the kitchen of your mom, step by step, right? Everything is available step by step, right? Secondly, so their brains are getting cluttered and they want to crank up their brains. And how do they crank up their brains? They order drugs. From where do they order drugs? It is from the dark web or the deep web. How do they order drugs? Without their parents' knowledge, it could be bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, which you and me might not know, but our children know how to order it. How does it come? It comes in organic forms, colorless, odorless. Even your dogs cannot sniff it out. And that is how they get into a situation of Udta Punjab. Porn is being downloaded in the pandemic big time. It is coming from police sources, all the statistics, not from my head. We are seeing, CSAM downloads, child sexual abuse material being downloaded big time. These are all, it is happening. One thing is you need to understand the dark web, the deep surface, the dark, a whole lot of things like that. One thing which is available is crime as a service. We call it software as a service. They call it crime as a service. A lot of things are available inside. The more you, and that is why, organizations who are watching, you spoke about parents, and I'll take 1 minute to speak about enterprises. I will advise enterprises to have a person who gets into the dark web, crawls around, finds out whether your own information is there around, malware analysis, forensic team. These are all part of the today's young, the enterprise, what we need to have. Coming back to the parents and students, we all need to be aware and understand what our children are doing, right? So, but from the government side, they are doing a few wonderful things. For example, the CBSE board has come out with a 98-page booklet on cyber security handbook, and it is available on a CBSE website, CBSE academic nic.in. You can download it from there. Number one. So all those things are available. We ourselves as Leonis, we have been doing for the past 10 years, delivering lectures in a layman's language to corporates, to schools, colleges. This morning I had a session at BCICAI college, which is a 132-year young college in Mumbai. So we keep on doing it, and under the IT Act, we call it what can be the reasonable security practices for your personal sensitive data. And it is nothing else but ISO 27001, which Mauli is a master at. So what does that 27001 say? That we need to have certain guidelines, what we need to follow, and that is what we need. Discipline. Today the pandemic has taught us 3-4 things which has just gone into effect very quickly. That means wash my hands, wear a mask, every time, zero trust. Every time I come to your house, the guard at the door puts a gun on my head, checks my temperature, sees where I'm sanitized or I'm wearing a mask. So there are some 5-6 steps that we need to follow to ensure that we also maintain digital distancing from unwanted characters and we make ourselves safe. And that is what I would say, that we all need to be aware and vigilant. Forget about the children, including the parents. So there are a lot of material, quizzes. Infosecawareness.in has 15 quizzes. Email security, social media security, ethics. Go and attempt those quizzes and see where you stand. Keep on attempting it, re-attempting it, and you will get better. Your understanding will go better and better on security. So that's it.
That's a very nice terminology used about digital distancing, following the new norm. We touched upon social media and smartphones. Now let's briefly touch upon the mode of payment through cards. We all use different cards for online purchases like debit cards or credit cards. With the kind of online frauds happening, Mauli, what is the difference, the unique difference between a debit card fraud and a credit card fraud?
It's basically difference between the way these cards are used. Like if you're using a debit use, so you can use that credit limit also. Debit card fraud and credit card fraud. Credit card gives a little bit more of cushioning when it comes to the protection of the transactions, fraudulent transactions.
Okay. We have a question wherein there are, 1 second. Okay, we'll take the questions later on. We, apart from the card usage of the cards, we also keep hearing about that email account or the bank accounts, as Logan earlier mentioned. Logan, could you, as our local panelist, what does one do if I find out, that my account has been compromised? Is there a recourse available, or what is a recourse available for any victim of an online fraud with respect to cybersecurity laws that are on in Bahrain?
Right. Yeah. So as you mentioned, you can dial 992. It's the Bahrain cybercrime hotline. There is an anti-cybercrime law which has been in Bahrain for a long time now. where if anyone is found in doing these kinds of cyber crimes or frauds, they are prosecuted quite seriously. The challenge becomes how often do they actually find the fraudster on the other side? And if the person is likely outside of Bahrain, how much jurisdiction and what can they actually do to go pursue them? So it becomes very difficult to hold the fraudsters or the threats themselves accountable, although it does happen sometimes. So then the question becomes, okay, besides them, who else could be considered as potentially negligent in terms of making it too easy for the fraudsters? So for example, if it is a company and your information or data or your credit card, you use it to shop at a site or something, and then they get hacked and breached and your information gets stolen through this company, then now we have what we call the PDPL, the Personal Data Protection Law. And this law is aimed not at the fraudsters themselves, but at the people that you shared your data with, and it's their responsibility to protect it. So if it turns out through the investigation, you dial 992, they do an investigation, and it turns out that one of these companies was negligible in terms of protecting it, then they could be subject to compensating you, and they could be fined and penalized themselves. Likewise, if it's through a bank, we have the central bank here in Bahrain, which keeps the banks themselves accountable to make sure they're protecting the Bahrain citizens and their data. And we have the telecom authority as well from a telecom standpoint, which is overlooking and making sure all the best practices are followed there as well. So there's multiple authorities and entities in Bahrain depending on who's involved, and it really is a collaborative effort. So, you know, multiple people could potentially be responsible, but the best thing to do is to file a report to the police as soon as possible. Whether or not justice ultimately will be done, you know, in some cases, unfortunately, it can't be. So prevention is really the goal, but there are things to do and recourses to take as well.
Okay. So as we heard the Bahrain's point of view, Suresh, could you tell us the recourse available from with the cyber laws that are there in place in India?
Correct. So as far as India is concerned, the Indian Information Technology Act was passed in the year 2000, right? So from since then, there has been a lot of notifications to that effect. A lot of things are getting. Earlier, we had something called the IPC, Indian Penal, Penal Code, and the Indian Evidence Act. So IT Act doesn't work alone in tandem. It works in tandem with all these other things like that, and the CRPC. So, but what is happening is the IT Act came little late in 2000, right? So the law enforcement is still comfortable with something called IPC, which has been there since 1863, right? So still IT Act is still not invoked much. It is happening recently. So in the IT Act, even for the all our attendees, it's very simple. If you type IT Act 2000, you can get a book. In that book, don't break your head for anything. You have to look at chapter 11, offenses, 65, section 65 to 78 is simple. Why I'm saying so is that when you use all this yantra and mantra, you should know the law of the land. As simple as in a layman's term, if when you all visit India and when you have a dutiable item, and then you walk through the green channel, and then you tell the custom officer if you're caught, oh, I didn't know that I had to pay duty for this. They will not. Would they allow you? They will not. It doesn't matter whether you know the customs law, yes or no. You have to pay the duty. The same way, we have something. We need to understand the law of the land while you start using all these devices. And secondly, if there is a crime, 65 to 78, we can go to the police station. But if there are certain things related to compensations, penalties, and liabilities on an organization because of the negligence, you can go to the IT adjudicator who's sitting out of Mantralaya, which is the local state government's office, and put a damage up to 5 crores, 5 crore Indian rupees. Beyond 5 crores, it is the courts who will take it over. Other than that, like Logan said, we have the privacy data bill, which will soon become an act in the next sitting of the parliament. That will come up. We have the GDPR if we are doing some work for the European countries here. Recently, last week, digital media and code of ethics was passed, notified, gazetted by the government. We are seeing a lot of companies operating out of India which do not have local presence as a grievance officer or a compliance officer. So every time we have to go to the other country and they will talk, they will not give us information because they say this information has got a privacy, a thing to it, and we don't get it. So now the data. Earlier there was a time when we used to call muscle power. Then came money power. Now it is called the data power, right? So very soon India is going to become the data refinery of the world. There we will host a lot of data, and we will ensure that it is held in a proper tier 4 data centers. So all these things, we are getting rules, we are getting laws into place, we are evolving day by day, and that is where I feel we are getting there slowly. We are all learning each day. Nitya Vidyarthi.
Okay. We have a question on Facebook, on the ICRF Facebook page from Nasir Manjeri. Is it safe to use public Wi-Fi connections such as at the airport or restaurants or hotel to do online transactions? And I believe the same question has been raised by one of our CA members, Chinmoy Chatterjee. If any of the panel members can take that. Suresh, please go ahead.
So to answer that in a layman's language, it's very simple. Generally, a free Wi-Fi zone will not have much of security built in. Like Mauli explained earlier, HTTPS, the extra S stands for security. What does that extra S do? It scrambles the data which flows between, if you're sitting in the airport and you're doing something, if you're typing something and you're doing a bank transaction at the airport, it's very sensitive data. Now, if it has to go from your laptop to the server, if it goes in clear text, right? If I say, Yenna Logan, eppadi irukke? So okay, ma? Did you understand that, Logan? Hi, Logan, how are you? All well? You look at it. First time when I spoke to him, Logan didn't understand anything. It was in Tamil. That is encryption. Second time when I spoke to him in English. Clear text. If your data flows in clear text, it can be hacked. Ask Mauli, man in the middle attack. Somebody will catch your data and take it out and hack you. So I will never ever go for a free Wi-Fi. Anything free in this world? No free lunch in this world. Okay, that is where you have to be very careful. I personally, even I do not do a mobile transaction from my phone. It is purely because, and I'll tell you why. We download so many applications, and all these applications they take permissions from you. Terms and conditions, we put 3 seconds, we say, I accept. And they have access to your camera, access to your messaging system, access to your contacts, access to your microphone. At least all of us, after this lecture, we should go back to our phones, look at the permissions, look at the apps, the applications, permission settings, and disable unwanted, things, camera, microphone, and whole lot of things, and make ourselves a little more safer. So personally, I would not do there's no free lunch in this world. That's my answer.
But as you said, many of the applications ask permission, but of late I've seen many of the applications don't even ask permission. They by default, and you have to click. If you have to use the application, you have to click. There is no bifurcation that, I can stop the application from using this particular permission.
No, to answer that question, download it, let the application come onto my mobile, your mobile, go to the apps, go to the permissions, disable whatever you don't want the world to access. Simple housekeeping, common sense. Thank you.
Okay, our CA member, CA Sushil Jain has a question. Should we use VPN for bank transactions? Will it protect us? Yes, Logan.
Right. Will it protect you 100%? No. As Suresh mentioned, nothing is going to be 100%. VPN, so for one thing, but if you do have to use public Wi-Fi or open Wi-Fi, VPN can be useful in terms of adding a layer of security to help protect. So I would never recommend doing a bank transaction over public Wi-Fi anyways. However, if you want to use VPN to do a bank transaction, from other secured networks such as your home, it can add an extra level to where it adds that pipe that encapsulates it so that the man in the middle isn't able to intercept it. So I do recommend VPN as an extra layer of security. Was it 100%? No, because if they compromise your phone, everything gets that's the end of the pipe. So everything can come out clear text there anyway. So it's always a possibility, but it does help, at least from the man-in-the-middle attacks, and it does secure things a bit more.
Okay. There's another Facebook question on the ICRF Facebook page. I think when Suresh said that, passwords, you can have different, Mauli also said should have different passwords, and, maybe passphrases is a new terminology that I heard today. Mr. Chembal Jalal says that many passwords are difficult to recall. How do we save password? And same question question has been raised by another Mr. Murli Krishnan, that using different password and remembering as, the account gets blocked many a times because you don't remember the password. So what is a better way to save passwords? Who would take that? Mauli would like to take it?
Yeah, surely. You can use wallets which are available, and apart from using or writing down or storing the password somewhere, I would suggest that you create passwords that are easily remembered by you, unique to yourself. Like for me, it would be my child's birthday, which is not publicly available, something which is only known to a few of the people. It could be a trick question like, what is your favorite book? Now, typically who would know me would say that, okay, she could put in something like Harry Potter, but I know that, okay, my favorite book would be, Digital Fortress, something of that, which is uniquely only related, uniquely you can remember, easily remember. At the same time, it is not something which everyone would know about yourself. So you would have to come up with some, some bits whereby, balance, like Logan very well said, that, you'll have to balance it out. I understand that we've got not one, but multiple accounts to take care of, multiple social media accounts, multiple banking accounts, multiple insurance websites accounts also. So, storing too much of passwords in this chip is also a problem. But somewhere where you can, easily remember, link it, remember your password with something that you can think of very easily, and rotate those passwords. Yeah.
Yes, Logan, you want to add something?
Yeah, just to add to that, one of my favorites is actually to do a few song lyrics or a line in a song, because I remember that can be helpful. And as well as Mauli mentioned, from a wallet standpoint, again, wallet's one of those things where you're putting all of your eggs into one basket. So there is some risk there. If that gets compromised, then they have everything. However, what it enables you to do is have much more complex passwords and unique passwords. It's very difficult to remember 100 different unique passwords. What I would recommend if you do decide to use a wallet is to enable some kind of multi-factor authentication, where it sends you preferably through an app or something like that. And you can look up multi-factor authentication, where it's not only your password to access it, there must be something else which also validates it. Now, this can be annoying or a challenge to do. However, if you're going to have the convenience of having everything in one place, you should have that extra level of protection. So again, it's something else to consider there.
All right. Yes, Suresh, please.
I just want to add, along with the password, we need to also enable something called the two-factor authentication across our application. So even if your password is compromised and you give it to the hacker, he or she will not be able to enter it, because that two-factor authentication comes into your mobile, which is with you, right? So you're making life difficult for the fraudster and the hacker. And something which I don't want to touch upon here, but I just want to leave it with the thought, is that there is something, we are entering a phase called passwordless. If you type the word passwordless, we are entering a phase where there'll be no passwords in future. So we are, getting into some new zones. Okay, one of them is the biometrics, but that is also not passwordless. We are getting into a lot of other things like that.
Right. Okay. We have another question from CA Nath. He wants to know what all are the precautions that we need to take while exchanging the old mobile for a new mobile phone, especially if the old mobile had internet banking. Mauli is having a hearty laugh. Who would like to take that question?
Mauli is the forensics expert here.
The basic that what you need to do is, if it's an Android phone, first and foremost, disassociate your Google account with it. And secondly, just reset to factory settings multiple times, not one, but multiple times. That's the basic that you need to do it. So having your phone wiped off multiple times and rewritten that with a media file, huge media file that will prevent your old data from being scrubbed off. So rewrite your phone memory with the media, wipe it off, again rewrite and wipe it off. That is the basic that you need to do.
Okay. Yes, Suresh, please.
So adding to that, absolutely, Mauli is expert, but what we are also saying here is ultimately when you decide to exchange your phone and buy a new one against it, every phone has got something called the IMEI number, International Mobile Equipment Identity Number. What
Right.
I would do also is that when I'm surrendering the old phone to the shopkeeper and buying a new one, I will say that this IMEI number I have surrendered to you at so and so date, so and so time. Why do I do that? The simple thing is that IMEI phone device is still in my name. Tomorrow, if they sell it to a X party, third party, and if that X party decides to use that phone for terrorism purposes, and a call is made, as a bomb is kept at so and so place, the possibility is that I will be called for questioning. I am saying that I have surrendered this phone at so and so date, so and so time, right? Even if I have to give my phone for repairs, I will ensure that I will not give it with data. I'll remove the data. I will, knock it off. I will ensure my, so all these things other than that, we call it the military wipe as far as possible. Remember one thing, even if you delete in an electronic device, if you have a document or if you have something, even if you delete it, what it gets, the data doesn't get deleted. Like Mauli said, it has to get overwritten with media, overwrite it. Only then it gets deleted. Otherwise, the content is there, the index gets deleted, right? That is where you have to be careful. Correct.
Okay. I guess we've already overshot time, I guess, and due to the paucity of time, I'm not sure. I don't think we can take more questions. So before we end today's session, I would like the panelists to give their final words of wisdom in less than a minute, please. Logan, let's start with you.
Sure. I guess I'd just like to say that, it can be, a lot of doom and gloom in terms of feeling overwhelmed, that there's so many threats and so much risk. And, that is very true. And there are a lot more and more security professionals. And I'm encouraged to see, even in universities and everyone offering more and more programs to train the next generation and future of people to secure things properly. As well, Bahrain, a few months back, has established a national cybersecurity authority, which just goes to show the Bahrain government takes this very seriously, and at a national level are looking at how can they make Bahrain a safer place to live from a cyber and digital standpoint. And so as technology is rapidly evolving, it's important that cybersecurity and everyone can play a role in this, be really integrated throughout society so that you have that safe and stable foundation for the digital economy to continue to grow. Thanks.
Okay, Suresh, how about you?
There was a famous movie, entertainment. I would say awareness. Always do research, find out more about it, make yourself aware, ensure that you use your common sense. There's no rocket science. Use your common sense like the way you do in your real world. You need to be very this, ensure that security settings and privacy, it is in plain English, nothing technical about it. Go back to your system, go back and see all these things, disable unwanted things, make life difficult for the fraudster and hacker. Do not trust stranger, like Mauli said. Do not trust anybody giving you something free. No free lunch, no free coffee in this world. And secondly, about a lot of fake news floating around in today's world. And that fake news, before you just blindly forward, fact check it. Now, if you just use the word fact check, you will see a lot of organizations, Factly and PIB and whole lot of things, who will check the news for you before you blindly forward it. Somebody said during pandemic, alcohol was not available. Somebody said drink sanitizer and you will feel high in spirit. Those guys went high. So don't just follow everything blindly. Fact check. That's all from my side. Stay safe. Be smart. Crime smart. Thank you.
Okay, before we ask Mauli her final comments, I think we can take a couple of more questions. I've got to go ahead from Mr. Aruldas. There's one question from Samir Cheda. He asks, are Apple devices more safe? Because there's always been a tussle between Apple and Samsung. I mean, can a MacBook need to have any antivirus? He wants to know. Yes, Suresh, please.
Nothing is safe in this world, whether it is Apple or Raspberry Pi or Pineapple. I can assure you, Apple is only safe purely because, if I target Android, I get more visibility. Apple is less. Okay, but definitely Apple has got certain sandboxing and technologies in place. It is not easy for me to simply download a song into my Apple phone. It has got some stringent things. So as a security a person, generally people will go for a Mac Airbook and whole lot of things. It is not so easy to transfer data here and there. They've got very late. So that way Apple is safe. But generally, whether it is everything in this world, there are two things: whether you're hacked or you're going to get hacked. Simple. Sure. So to answer your question, nothing is safe. But Apple, comparatively compared to Android, it is better. Definitely, I would work for it.
All right. Okay, CA Nath has another question. In Bahrain, we have this contactless cards. Because of the COVID situation, it has become mandatory. So he wants to know, how do we protect the cards with the contactless transaction?
Yeah, so the contactless cards, the way it's set up is there's a chip in the card, and it uses, everybody always asks, Wi-Fi, does your card have Wi-Fi? It's not actually Wi-Fi, it's called NFC, near field communication. But what this does is it's specific wireless protocol, and it communicates to the card reader without actually having, so it's just like before when you inserted it, except that now it doesn't actually have to touch, it communicates there. Now, the risk there is really not that as you're doing that someone now will intercept that communication and steal it. However, is it possible for, if someone has one of these, and in proof of concepts, this has been done, and where if you go up and bump up against someone in their wallet and you touch that card, now Bahrain has a limit, I think up to 50 dinar. You can, if they just bump the card, they can withdraw that without actually having to enter a PIN. More than 50, and then you do have to enter a PIN. But that can happen. One of the things that some people choose to do is they have, and you can Google credit card shield, and it's a little shield envelope that you put your credit card in, and this blocks it from anyone being able to bump up and do that. So that's one thing which can be useful. Now, the person has to have physical access to you to be able to do that. So the risk of that is less compared to other kinds of threats, but it is something to take into consideration as well. So good question.
Yes, Suresh, please.
You can also put it in a silver foil. Okay. One thing. Otherwise, like Logan said, there are pouches available. The same thing can happen to your car, which you open with a FOB, we call it. It can also be, hacked. But what I wanted to say here is, today we have got the chip card, which Logan said perfectly. We have a EMV chip card, Master Visa or European Master Visa card. But I mean, I don't know about Bahrain, but here in India, the backside, the magnetic stripe is still active. So if I still want to clone the card, I can do it. Mauli shaking head. Mauli, we'll meet tomorrow. We have to get a lot of cards to clone. Okay.
Okay, so let's hear it from Mauli, her final comments to end the session.
Surely, Suresh, we do meet. Coming to the end of it, I would like to say that, this was an awareness session. I'm sure people would have been greatly aware. And, it is, we are gradually moving more and more to the digital and the virtual world. Please do not get scared by whatever we've said. It's just for your knowledge. Every coin has two sides. So balance it out, be aware, stay cautious, and please do not blindly trust anything that is coming to you. That is how I would want to end it. Thank you.
All right. On behalf of ICRF, Bahrain CA chapter, and all the attendees, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our panelists, Mauli, Logan, and Suresh, for their time and sharing their valuable insights on today's topic, Protect Your Money Against Online Fraud. If I were to summarize, and Suresh has already put it in one simple sentence: common sense, which should be a first line of defense when identifying if you are being scammed or whatever it would be. Never click any link, never share your passwords or OTP. Whoever asks you, don't do that. We can't stop them, but we can at least limit their effectiveness by increasing our understanding. So I would like to call the ICRF President, Mr. Aruldas, to have his final comments to end the session. And before that, thank you all once again and wishing you all a very good evening. Over to you, Mr. Aruldas.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nisha. This has been a fantastic session. I think all the panel members have touched upon everything that we pretty much know, should know. I mean, actually, probably some people would have got more scared. The experts like you are already giving us, information that is more threatening as such. But anyway, the foremost thing I suppose is, digital distancing. That's one word which I want to carry home today. That in anything that we are going to do, there should be a caution, and a digital distancing need to be maintained. Probably we'd have just touched only 10% of the content that we can actually communicate to the community. But however, I think it is all fair that we were able to give so much of answers to so many questions. And today, after the session, I'm sure that people will be more concerned about when they're giving an OTP, when they're giving the credit card, when they're giving, doing a transaction. So I think official proposal of vote of thanks, I would request Sharmila to do that on behalf of all of us. And Nisha, you have done a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
And
Thank
before
you so
Sharmila
much.
concludes,
Yes,
2 minutes
Suresh,
from me,
please.
I would like to thank Aruldas from the ICRF. I would like to thank Ajay from the chapter of Bahrain CAs. I would like to thank Sharmila and Nisha and the entire team for facilitating this and having us over. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sharmila, please.
Sharmila, you're muted.
Thanks, Nisha, for that. So thank you, Aruldas, for giving us a chance for this, being in association with you to conduct this awareness session. So I'm sure the attendees, the BCICAI members, as well as the viewers, the expat community, have been immensely benefited with this awareness session. And so to summarize all that, and I'll thank all the panelists, Mr. Suresh, Mr. Logan, and Mauli, for the excellent briefing and all the tips and the sessions you have given to the members. So to sum up all that, we just need to be finally, it's like what Mr. Suresh has said, is nothing is free in this world. So just don't take the things on the face value. Be cyber smart, do your fact checks, and do use common sense. So with that, thanks once again. Thanks, Nisha, for the excellent moderation. And thank you once again, everybody. And have a good evening. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.